Once upon a time in the lush savannah, there lived a giraffe named George. George was known far and wide for his tall stature, but even more so for his generous heart. His long neck allowed him to see everything that was happening around him, and he never hesitated to lend a helping hoof. One sunny morning, as George was munching on some delicious acacia leaves, he noticed a tiny antelope struggling to reach the waterhole. The poor antelope had injured its leg and couldn't make it through the thick grass. Without a second thought, George bent down and gently picked up the antelope with his mouth, carefully carrying it to the waterhole. The antelope drank eagerly and looked up at George with gratitude. "Thank you, George," it said. "I don't know what I would have done without your help." George smiled. "No need to thank me. We all need a little help sometimes." Word of George's kindness spread quickly. One day, a family of meerkats approached him. They were worried because their burrow had been flooded after a heavy rain, and they had nowhere to go. George thought for a moment and then suggested, "Why don't you build your new home under the big baobab tree? It's high ground, and I can help you gather materials to make it cozy." The meerkats were thrilled with the idea. George used his long neck to gather twigs and leaves from the tall trees, materials the meerkats couldn't reach on their own. With George's help, the meerkats soon had a new, safe home. They invited George to their burrow warming party and even made a special seat for him, a high perch from where he could see the entire savannah. One afternoon, George noticed an old, weary lion resting under a tree. The lion looked thin and tired. George knew that the lion was too proud to ask for help, so he approached slowly and said, "You look hungry, friend. How about we share some of these delicious leaves? They are high up, but I can bring them down for you." The lion was hesitant but finally nodded. As George pulled down the branches, the lion ate gratefully. "You are very kind, George," said the lion between bites. "In my younger days, I would have never accepted help, but now I see how important it is to have friends." George's generosity created a ripple of kindness across the savannah. The animals began to help each other more, inspired by George's actions. The hyenas shared their scavenged food with the vultures, the zebras allowed the smaller animals to graze alongside them, and even the usually grumpy rhinoceros was seen helping a family of turtles cross the river. One day, the animals decided to have a gathering to honor George for his generosity. They presented him with a beautiful crown made of flowers and leaves. The antelope, the meerkats, the lion, and many others all took turns sharing how George had helped them. George, although usually very composed, felt his eyes well up with tears. He was touched by the love and gratitude from his friends. "Thank you, everyone," George said, his voice filled with emotion. "I am so lucky to have friends like you. Remember, it's not about how tall or strong you are, but how big your heart is. Helping each other makes our home, the savannah, a better place for us all." And so, George the generous giraffe continued to inspire kindness and generosity throughout the savannah. His long neck and big heart made him the hero of the savannah, and his story was told from one generation to the next, reminding everyone that true greatness comes from giving to others.